speaker joins us from this weekend from Denver, Colorado. He's been in Toastmasters since 1999 and reached the finals of the World Championships of Public Speaking in both 2006 and 2008. Finished third in the world. He shared the stage with our own immediate past president, District Governor Thomas Linneman. And he writes a popular blog, Speak and Deliver, a public speaking blog for the speaking public, and the author of Go Ahead and Laugh, a serious guide to speaking with humor, which are all gratefully provided for us today at the conference this weekend. He's also for sale. Available for sale. He is also a husband and father of 6, as he mentions here, usually wonderful children, and most of whom have by now noticed that he's not home today for some reason. Help me welcome the keynote speaker of the weekend, Rich Hopkins.
I'm so glad I came to the session right before this one, because it dovetails perfectly into what I want to talk about. If you weren't here, I talked about all the great ways to get new members into your club. And that is a wonderful thing, because we were all, at one point or another, a new member. We all joined for various different reasons. I've heard some pretty way out reasons. People joining Toastmasters, whether they're social reasons or they're forced to join because they're going to get fired if they don't become a better speaker. Myself, I joined Toastmasters because I was asked out on a date by the president of a Toastmasters club. Now, my current wife, my last wife, my only wife, okay, the woman I'm married to now that I will be married to forever was not that woman that I met at that Toastmasters meeting. Just to clarify. But I do owe her that one debt of gratitude for introducing me to Toastmasters, because I had never heard of Toastmasters before. I had never understood that an organization like this existed, and I wish I had. Now, how many of you know that I'm from Iowa? A few. It may have been promoted a little bit. I grew up in Cedar Rapids.
I've heard of that.
You've heard of Cedar Rapids? Just 2 hours away, and yet, did any of my old high school friends come up here to see me? No. No. Oh well, I've got family coming in tomorrow, but they live in Des Moines, so I don't know how far or how much of a sacrifice they're really having to make to come see me. My very first experience with public speaking in a negative way came in Cedar Rapids. In 7th grade at Franklin Junior High, I had to give a book report on Abraham Lincoln. How easy is that? Abraham Lincoln. You don't even have to do anything to do a book report on Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, sure, I read the book. I just get up, say a few things, sit down, I'm all good, right? Not so much. I got up there and looked out at this group of 7th graders who pretty much spent most of their life tormenting me anyway, and I panicked. I looked down at my notes that really didn't exist. I looked back at them. I started to well up, and I ran out of that room in tears. I needed Toastmasters. But no, I didn't find it until I moved to Denver, Colorado.
You needed 5th graders.
I needed 5th graders. There you go. So why did I stay? It's easy to see why I joined. I needed, well, at that time I needed a girlfriend, but I also needed to get better at public speaking because I was in sales, and it's one thing to be a salesman, it's another to be a good salesman. If you're not a good speaker, you quite often are not a good salesman. So I had reasons to stay, and as I've gone through Toastmasters, I've found more and more reasons to stay. That's what I want to talk to you about today, is how can we make people stay? Isn't turnover the #1 problem our clubs have? And people are gone on average by the time they've hit their 6th speech. They feel a little bit of success, but they aren't sure whether it's enough. Some people leave just within the first couple of weeks. Some people stay and get their CC, and then they're gone. Then you have the people that have been around 3 or 4 years, and they just disappear. Why is that? It's the opposite of the reason they joined. They joined because they saw something they needed, something they wanted. It fulfilled part of their life. And suddenly they didn't see Toastmasters as fulfilling that anymore. And it's our job to not let that happen. To stay in touch with people, whether they've been a member for 2 months, 2 years, or 20 years, and make sure that we as an organization are fulfilling what it is they need fulfilled. How many of you really get together with your new members and find out why they joined? What is their specific goal? A couple? I'm sure there are more of you that do that. And that's one of the things about speaking at district conferences. I get all the stars. I'm talking to the choir. You really want to be sure that you're not treating everybody who comes in the same. It's not a matter of we're the same organization, we do the same things, and what we have is what they need. It's finding what in an organization is specific to their needs. How can we guide them to those certain parts of Toastmasters, whether it's the basic speaking, whether it's getting into leadership, what is going to fulfill their needs? Now, one of the biggest things I hear is, I just got bored. You know, I've done everything. I've done the manual. I've been an area governor. I don't want to go up the district ladder. There's nothing left for me. But I don't believe that. I believe you can take yourself to the next level no matter how long you've been a Toastmaster. And most of you believe that too, which is why you're here this weekend. Whether you're a new Toastmaster whose arm has been twisted to the point that you had to come, or you're a 20-year Toastmaster who you just do this because you do this. You understand it, and it's part of you. So I'm going to talk about how you can become a Toastmaster 2.0, and how you can encourage the people at your home clubs who may be teetering a little bit, how you can match them to their goals in Toastmasters, show them there's so much more in this organization for them, so that they can become a Toastmaster 2.0 as well. So how do we do that? Well, first, we don't use notes when we speak. Tell your people and tell yourself that you don't have to keep giving brand new speeches. That is one of the worst parts of Toastmasters for me, is this feeling that I always have to come up with another speech. Man, I've given over 150 speeches in the last 10 years, which isn't that many compared to some, but still, they've all been different. Who can come up with 150 different speeches and have them be any good? Not me, ask my evaluators. But if you can use the same speech over and over again, how much better could you make that speech? If you let your audience know, if you're using your same club to give that speech over and over again, if you're letting them know there's a purpose, they're not going to complain. They might complain if you only give that speech 15 straight times. But perhaps you've gotten 15 times as good at that speech as the first time you gave it. What if you took the CC manual and decided, I'm going to take this one 7-minute speech and I'm going to run it through the CC manual. And each time I'm going to so completely focus on what this project is making me do, that that speech, in a sense, is different than any of the other times you've given it. And if you're focusing suddenly on vocal variety, you can add some things into that speech that you hadn't thought about. You might exaggerate it. You might put in things into that speech that you wouldn't use in the end, but it's a way to really practice those muscles. It's a way to take a speech and take it from just something you wrote in your car an hour before you went into your Toastmasters meeting. Anybody done that? No. We didn't actually write it down, did we? To a speech that you can actually be proud of, that you can take outside of Toastmasters, maybe that you can compete with a year from now. So don't think you always have to come up with a new speech, because you're cheating yourself. You're really taking away that opportunity that those manuals give you to really improve on something, because your mind is always working on that next story idea instead of how to make your speech better. Now, similar to that is stop giving Toastmaster speeches. Does anybody here know what a Toastmaster speech is? What's a Toastmaster speech?
You're too formal. You're like, you're not yourself. You're thinking too much about what you're saying as opposed to speaking from your heart.
Am I right? No, yes, that's very much a Toastmaster speech. Any other ideas on what a Toastmaster speech could be?
Well, just always bringing it back to Toastmasters has done this for me, or something about 3 cheers for Toastmasters, something
Right.
like that.
Well, that's easy to come up with at the last minute, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we all live through Toastmasters, and in fact, what is the session? It's all about Toastmasters. But hopefully I'll beat that particular mold a little bit as we go on. Any other ideas on what a Toastmaster speech is? Tom?
In competition speeches at international, it always seems to be things are going well, then there's a great tragedy, and then everybody's really impressed, and all of a sudden there's a great epiphany, and then there's an ending.
Okay. Very good. A cookie cutter approach to contest speeches, which is one of those double-edged swords, because if we go too far away from that, then we have our cookie cutter judges that will discount us for doing those things. When I see a Toastmaster, oh, I thought somebody was raising their hand. What I see, was somebody raising their hand? Tom.
Tell them what you told them, and then tell them what you told them is the generic Toastmaster speech. And if you step outside of that box, half the people in the room are really going to be kind of perturbed.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, and that's not even a good way to give a speech. It's the way military people talk to each other to make sure that they're following orders. And yet people still use that particular approach in public speaking. What I really see as a Toastmaster speech is that speech that is a throwaway speech. A speech that is about what you did that day. It's a speech about your kids. It's a speech about just something that you came up with because you knew you had to give a speech this week. You went to Toastmasters and you gave it, and you listened to your evaluator and you thought, yeah, they're right, but I'm never going to use this anyway. I'm never going to say this stuff again. We see a lot of speeches like that in Toastmasters. What if you actually used your moment in time, your 7 minutes of fame, on a speech you were going to use in the real world, on a training you were going to give at work, on a sales presentation that you do every single day? Maybe you want to give a piece of your speech that you're developing for a larger audience, an outside audience. I was talking with a coachee this morning who was having so much trouble in Toastmasters because she wanted to practice a 45-minute speech. She didn't feel she could even get started in 7 minutes. And I had to really reinforce with her that you break that speech down into segments. Practice 7 minutes at a time. Most of your speeches, as long as they may be, really are only going to be a compilation of 5 to 7 minute segments. Because if you take too long from story to story, point to point, you're going to lose your audience altogether. So go into your club and let them know exactly what it is you're doing, why you're doing it, so that the audience doesn't freak out that you're selling them your Avon, but really you're just there because, hey, this is what I do every day, and I'm here to get better at what I do every day, and I don't care if you buy anything. Just let me give the first 7 minutes of my pitch. for Ava. And then next week, or 2 weeks from now, let me give the second 7 minutes of my pitch. Could somebody bring me up a glass of water? I should have brought my own. I apologize. I'm about to die.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
Hold the glass. Let's see what happens.
Is Iowa supposed to be more humid than Colorado? I'm not feeling it. Thank you. So that's the basic idea. Don't just worry about it being a speech. Let me rephrase that. Worry about it being a speech that actually makes a difference. Use Toastmasters to your actual benefit. Now there is value in just coming up with that speech and telling that story about your kids, telling that story about your day, if you have a purpose behind it. But always have a purpose. Don't waste your 5 to 7 minutes. And don't waste the 5 to 7 minutes of the audience that's listening to you. Evaluations. How can you get a stronger evaluation? Contestants, we come up with this all the time, come up against it where we'll win our district contest, say, and then we'll go and do the tour of clubs. We'll give the same speech over and over and over again, and we won't get the strong evaluations because people are afraid to say anything. People are so busy picking, perhaps, that they pick out things that are wrong that aren't even wrong. But nobody else said it, and they thought of it, so they're going to say it. You never know what kind of evaluations you're going to get. In a club, you get the one evaluation. You might get little love notes, as my mentor called them, on the little slips of paper. The trend in Colorado is that you're starting to fill out these giant forms to evaluate each speaker. But you still don't know what you're going to get. It's your responsibility, if you really want to become a better speaker, to talk to your evaluator and tell them what it is you want to be evaluated on. Yes, there are things in the manual, certainly if you're doing a manual speech, and I hope you are, but there are other things within your speech you want them to look for. And if you're an advanced speaker, why shouldn't they be able to give you an advanced evaluation? Give them permission to go after you in a certain area, to really try to nail down what's missing in your speech. Bring your own evaluation forms. Don't worry about what the club happens to hand out. Bring your own papers that have some very pointed questions. What was your perception of my speech? What did you think my basic message was? Did this story work well for you? Ask them very specific questions and you'll get very specific feedback. Because if you don't, you're going to get the same evaluation you get week after week. They say something good, they tell you to gesture better and get better eye contact, and then they tell you how awesome you are. Which is really good for beginning Toastmasters. But if you've been in Toastmasters for more than 6 to 12 months, you need more, don't you? Shouldn't you crave more? Think about how much better a speaker you could be if you really forced people into talking to you about what it is you really need to work on. And think about how much better evaluators they would become if you give them permission to be that better. Table topics workout. It's a gym. Table topics can be so powerful for you as a speaker to really exercise different things. Who cares what the question is? They can ask you anything they want, and they will. But what if you go to Toastmasters today and say, all right, no matter what they ask me, my goal is to use gestures in a way I've never used gestures before. Okay, you're going to freak a lot of people out. But you're going to have an opportunity to really focus on those gestures for that 1 to 2 minutes. To find a way to be impromptu and be creative by adding gestures to something that may be incredibly boring that doesn't lend itself to gestures at all. Maybe you can use vocal variety. Maybe you definitely want to tell a story from beginning to end. And so you just completely bridge off the table topic so you can tell that story. Toastmasters is for you. It's not necessarily for everybody else there when you get the chance to speak. If you aren't taking advantage of every opportunity you have to speak, to find a way to get better at what you're doing, you could get bored. You could decide, wow, you know, I'm just going and yeah, it'll be another table topic, so I'll get that answered. Okay, well, that's an hour of my life that's gone. But if you go in with a purpose and you achieve even that small purpose, it's going to make you want to go again so that you can do it one more time. Record yourself. Thank you. Originally, I was going to have to say record yourself, but don't listen to me because I didn't bring anything to record myself. Luckily, he came up to me and said, "Hey, can I record you?" Hey, you bet! How many of you record your speeches? I think a lot of people here, probably all from that one club, right?
Yes. We have a weekly TV show.
Oh, that helps.
Yes, it does.
That definitely helps.
And we have fans too.
Fans,
They have seen you on TV.
Yeah, they say.
do they all have your last name?
They don't need my last name. Everybody knows who I am. It's like Seal.
Seal, excellent. I like
Everybody
it.
knows Bird.
Bird.
Yeah.
Bird.
How many birds do you know?
How many birds do I know? Well, there's you and there's Bert Decker.
There's not two. There's
I
not
know
many.
two. That's not
many.
bad. Now I've totally lost my train of thought.
Recording.
Yeah, get recorded. So when you totally lose your train of thought, you can edit that out. My club records every speech. They only do that because I make them do that, and I bring my camera and I record every speech. But there have been a lot of clubs that I've gone to talk to that have started recording their speeches after I talk to them. Because an amazing thing happens when people realize they're going to get recorded. One, their speeches get better. So they know that it's going to be possibly on the club website, possibly out on your club YouTube channel. Secondly,
They wear clothes.
they wear clothes. Thirdly, the speech is getting longer and longer. They get a chance to see themselves. And that is scary. But they get better a lot faster when they see themselves on video. I have a hard time watching myself on video. You're going to send me this video?
Yes.
I guarantee it. I'm not going to watch it the day I get it. It's going to take me a little while to really say, okay, yeah, you're short, you're fat, you watch it anyway. Watch it anyway. That's something to remember, is that you're never as bad as you think you are. Because none of you were thinking I was short and fat until I said so, right? That guy back there. It's okay. It's okay. What if you can't videotape yourself? How many people here have a smartphone that you can record yourself with, either by video or by audio? Yeah, a lot of people. And a lot of people just now realize, what? I can record myself on my phone? There's apps for that. Even if all you do is get an audio recording, do it. Because you'll get a chance to hear how you sound. You might actually hear some ideas that you didn't have going into the speech that you suddenly took into the speech because you had an epiphany on stage. And you don't want to lose that. Anytime you can record yourself, it's an opportunity to improve what you're going to be doing in the future. Plus, it's always great for PR for your club. And for those of you that actually want to become professional speakers or need to promote yourself in some way, you suddenly have some content that you can edit into a video for your own purposes. There are a lot of different levels. And the reason you want to think about all the things I'm talking about at all these different levels is because the people thinking about leaving your club have been there a year, or they've been there 5 years, or I've been there 20 years. And they're all at those different levels. So you always want to make sure you're finding what part of this advice, how you can turn what I'm using today to their advantage, to their skill level, to their experience level. Really shouldn't be using those. How many people in here have competed in a speech contest? That's a lot of people. How many people here have actually won? That's good. And it's all a matter of what level, eh? How far do you go? How far do you make it? Don't go after the wrong trophy. Remember that. There's only one person who wins. Whether you stop at evaluation in district, or use table topics, all those that stop at district, whether you go forward at the World Championship of Public Speaking, Tom and I know only one person wins, and it isn't always you. So did you waste all that time because you got a second place trophy? Or because you got no trophy at all? There are speakers, there are contestants that feel that way. I used to be one. I competed for a long time before I finally realized I was doing it for the wrong reasons. That I wasn't getting as much out of it as I wanted to get. And I went to the World Championship twice before I realized how much of these opportunities I was wasting. Because my goal was always that trophy. And if I didn't win it, and I didn't win it, I went home and I just thought, wow, that's 8 months of my life gone. Wow, my wife and my kids just supported me for 8 months, and I came home with nothing. Well, I did get that third place trophy, huh? I did. But I didn't end up with what I wanted. It was the next year, 2009, after I'd gone through 2008, had the Speak documentary filmmakers tracking my every move, expecting me to win, and me sitting there, I was next to J.A. Gamache at the World Championships, watching them make the awards, and I kept waiting for my name. I was thrilled when they didn't call third. I was thrilled when I didn't win second. I was not so thrilled when Lashenda's name was called. She deserved to win. She's a great champion. I've watched the video, and I know. But at that moment, wow. It was the next year when I realized, I'm only going to compete this year if I'm going to have fun. And that was my purpose that year, was I was going to have fun. And I did. And I didn't go to the World Championship that year. I did fairly well. I took second at region the last year we had regions. But I got what I wanted to get done. I enjoyed every minute of the competition. That was for me. Now, if I'm going to compete again, I want to accomplish even more than have fun. I want to create speeches that I can use outside of Toastmasters. I want to work on myself as a speaker, not as a competitor. And we all have that opportunity, even if all we ever do is compete in a club contest. Can you find a stronger purpose to compete than that trophy? Can you pick something that you want to achieve, whether it's making a difference, just getting that one person to come up to you and say, wow, I'm glad I heard your speech today. Could that be a big enough goal to compete for? Or even just that chance to practice that speech that you're trying to perfect for the real world. Be able to give that at your club, maybe get a chance to give it an area in the division, get yourself filmed, speak in front of a bigger audience. Wow, what if being a competitor just meant that you got known around your district more? But you get to speak in front of people you don't speak in front of every week. What if that was your real trophy? I won't pound on that too much longer here. And that starts to dovetail into my next point. When it comes to competing, going to a lot of clubs. How long have I got? There's no clock in this room.
10 more minutes.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Get another 2 hours. I can do it. Tabletop exercise. Workout.
Sorry, sure.
Nah, you got me lost again.
Competing. Lots of
Competing to speaking outside your club. How many people here speak outside of Toastmasters? TEDx, I know that. A couple others. There's so many opportunities to speak in life outside of your club, even if it's just other clubs. If there's associations, Rotary clubs, nonprofit groups, anything. There are groups looking for speakers every single week. There's a man named Joe Saba in Denver who's somewhere around 265 years old. He actually started the Colorado chapter of the National Speakers Association. But his big deal is that you should never pay for your own lunch. You should never pay for your own breakfast. You should go speak someplace where they pay for your breakfast. It may not be a good breakfast, but they pay for it and you get to speak there. Because every week there are clubs that meet that desperately need a free speaker to come in and give them something new. And as Toastmasters, I think we can all give them something new. Not the next politician coming in, not the next person to talk about the highway project. But you could actually go in and speak on whatever it is your passion is. Give them something to be excited about. And if all else fails, what can you talk about? Toastmasters! That's right. Go in and market yourself and give that Toastmaster speech about how important Toastmasters is to you. But get out there. Because Toastmasters is not meant to train you to be a better Toastmaster. You'll become one. But if all you do is become a super Toastmaster, aren't you kind of missing the point? Isn't it really so that you can go out in your job and change something? Even if it's just the way you communicate? Isn't it so that you can really get your message to a wider group of people? More than just Toastmasters? I mean, we're a big group, but we're just a dot compared to how many people are in the world. This is where you come to train so that you can go out and make the difference. Don't let speaking at your club and winning best speaker every time you speak be the pinnacle of what you achieve in Toastmasters. Even being a district governor, as wonderful as it is, there are so many more things you can do beyond that. When you go outside of Toastmasters and speak to the public and let them know what's going on with your life, what's going on your heart, that they can take and then apply to their own lives. It's really our responsibility, isn't it? Once we've come to Toastmasters and actually found that we can communicate, we've been trained to do it in a way that's better than 99.9% of the world. Once we've identified that message inside of ourselves, aren't we cheating the world by keeping it all here in our clubs and even here in our district conferences? Go out. I feel like Jesus. Go out. So now that I've just talked about how bad, being a district governor must be, my next point just happens to be where leaders are made. If anyone's read my blog, you know what I think about that tagline. But it's true, where leaders are made. And you have that opportunity for leadership. If people are getting bored Have you pushed them into leadership? Have you introduced them to the joys of being an area governor or a division governor? Okay. Okay, the laugh is building. But there are so many opportunities there for you to speak. But I don't see area governors and division governors taking full advantage of it. Why just do a club visit? Why not come and actually do a training? Why not be that guest speaker? I love that the club talked about bringing guest speakers in and creating events. Why can't a division or area governor be that person who gets a chance to speak and give a new perspective from that leadership position? You can do those things as a leader if you take advantage of what it is you have. And your district governor, or any of the top three, you're going to be speaking all year long. And you can find a way to speak even more than the past officers that you've seen in your life. So push these people. Don't just let them sit there in the club and think, oh, I can just sit around, I'll get another CC this year, maybe, if I'm lucky. Let them know it's bigger. Drag them to these conferences, drag them to the area contest, let them see what they can become. Sometimes even a 5-year Toastmaster doesn't really have a clue what's outside the 4 walls of your club. I've got 2 points in time to say 1. So I could advise you to become the world champion of public speaking, which isn't as easy as it sounds. Or I could tell you that you should get a mentor or a coach. I think I'll go with that one. Mentors. How many of you have a mentor right now? Ooh. That's like 5 out of 30 or so. Okay. I know why you don't have a mentor. Because you've already been in Toastmasters so long, you don't need a mentor. Baloney! Have a mentor anyway. Find somebody who's more experienced. Find somebody who's better than you. Find somebody who's been a Toastmaster for a lot less time than you have, who has a skill that you wish you had. And ask them to be your mentor for the next 6 months. And to focus on that aspect of you as a speaker or a Toastmaster. Even the most experienced Toastmaster can continue to learn from somebody else in their club. Or, if not in the club, your area. Find that mentor for you. And if you're not assigning mentors to your club members, I mean, I hate to be that Toastmaster stick in the mud, but come on! These people need mentors because the club president can't keep track of everybody. The VP of membership can't keep track of everybody. You need to assign each new member that mentor so that that mentor can actually find out what that member needs. It goes back to what I started with. Are you meeting that member's needs? And if you're assigning a Toastmaster who's been around for 5 years a mentor, wow, do you think you might be able to head them off at the pass before they get bored? Because that mentor has actually sat down with them and said, hey, so what's your plan? What would you like to do this year? How can I help you do that? And that's the Toastmaster way. There's also the outside world way, which is get a coach. Might be a Toastmaster. I coach a lot of Toastmasters. Might not be a Toastmaster. If you can find a coach, if speaking is so crucial to you that you don't want to just be a great Toastmaster, but you want to be a great speaker, find a coach who's willing to work with you to help take you to that next level. Don't quit Toastmasters. When I coach people who aren't Toastmasters, I make them join Toastmasters. Because those people need an audience that isn't just me. Those people need to get filmed in front of real live audiences. And Toastmasters is the best training ground available. But get a coach. Encourage members that come in that maybe they're at such an advanced level already and they don't think Toastmasters is the place for them. Help them find a coach. as long as that coach still likes Toastmasters,
Ha!
so that they can continue to progress in Toastmasters, and you'll get something out of them because they'll suddenly become much better speakers for being coached, and that will make everyone in your club a better speaker for seeing those top level speakers. Yeah.
We've actually assigned coaches or mentors, and they've tried to talk to the people and say, what do you want to get out of it? And they go, I don't know.
No.
So how as a mentor are you supposed to get across what needs to be done if the person you've been assigned doesn't know what to ask?
When you have those people, like my wife, when you ask, so where do you want to go eat? And they say, I don't know. I don't care. You have to get specific. Do you want to go to Olive Garden or do you want to go to McDonald's? Give them some choices. Do you want to be speaking at work within the next 6 months? Do you have a big project coming up? Is that why you've come? Are you wanting to become a leader? Are you wanting to move up in management? We have so many aspects. Let's talk about some different things that might work for you. So you give them some choices, and then they have a menu to choose from. And I love my wife because she always picks McDonald's, and then I get to take her out someplace more expensive. So I know he's about to tackle me. Let me end with this. Toastmasters is not a place you should ever have to leave. People talk about graduating from Toastmasters. But why would you graduate from the world's greatest speaking laboratory? There's always something for you to do in Toastmasters, for you to improve on in your own speaking, and there's always something you can give to the other people within the organization. Don't use Toastmasters to prove how good you are. Use yourself to prove how good the Toastmasters program is. Because this program can work for everybody if we simply find out how.
Okay. So next comments, definitely stuff that I'll take to heart, and I know the rest of the audience will as well. If we could be back in the room at 3:20, we'll begin our last educational session for the day. 3:20, and then we'll start the last one. 3 minutes. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Go ahead and get started. Next speaker joins us this weekend from Denver, Colorado. He's been in Toastmasters since 1999 and reached the finals of the World Championship of Public Speaking in both 2006 2008, finishing in the World the year he shared the stage with our own immediate past District Governor, Thomas Lindemann. He writes a popular blog, Speak and Deliver, a public speaking blog for the speaking public, and is the co-author of Go Ahead and Laugh, a serious guide to speaking with humor, which is conveniently available for sale at the library at the conference this weekend. He's also a husband, the father of 6 usually wonderful children, most of whom have now just noticed that he's not available, he's not at home today. I'd like to welcome our keynote speaker of the conference, Mr. Rich Hopkins.
I tried to talk to my wife just a little bit ago, and I'm thinking that those kids have noticed I've gone, and they perhaps tied her up with duct tape and declared anarchy for the weekend. Why am I here? That's a question that I've been asking for a long time. I got to go up to South Dakota for the District 78 conference and do for them what I'm doing for you, head session and a keynote. And when I flew in, I asked the conference chair who picked me up from the airport, why am I here? Why did you pick me? And she said, well, we thought we had Ed Tate. Didn't work out so well, so I told her, okay, so you got me, you think I'm the second best speaker in Colorado. And she said, if you want to think that. So Tom picks me up from the airport this time, and I ask him, so Tom, thank you for bringing me out to District 19. Why did you think of me? And he said, well, we thought we had Ed Tate. What are you going to do? How many of you were here yesterday to see me speak? Okay, about half. So about half of you are going to hear something that the rest of you may start to snore through, but I hope not. So what I'm going to talk about is a little bit about what Jim Autry just started to hint about, which was winning and losing. He said he talked to somebody about winning and losing earlier. Turns out it was me. And if I'd known he was going to steal it, I wouldn't have talked to him about it. But really, winning and losing seems to be what life is all about, isn't it? Certainly in Toastmasters sometimes. We're always trying to win that best speaker ribbon. Want to win that best table topics. Isn't it great when you're that very brand new Toastmaster coming into a meeting and you win best table topics? And then 6 months later you realize they only voted for you so you pay your dues? Winning can do good things. I've been in competition for a long time. Now I want you guys to pay close attention throughout this entire speech because you're going to have a chance to win a little bit later on. But only if you're taking some notes. Now back in 2001, I competed in the International Speech Contest for the very first time. I had a great speech. I had an amazing speech. And I got lost going to area. I finally got there with about 10 minutes to go, I thought. But it was in a government building. The doors were locked. And the person who won that contest was Del Hargis, who went on to compete in the 2001 World Championship of Public Speaking. So now when I see Darren, I say, you know, I could have beaten you. If I hadn't gotten lost. But I got lost. 2002, I competed again. This time, I knew where every contest was going to be, and I was there about an hour early. And I made it all the way to region, where I lost. I took second. What is second? The first loser. Thank you very much. Yes, Tom said his real reason for bringing me here was he wanted me to give an uplifting keynote. So now I'm talking about losing. In fact, we're all losers, aren't we?
Yes.
We've all lost at something. Maybe you've lost that ribbon. Maybe you've lost a job. Maybe you've lost a relationship. Maybe you've lost the remote. Still looking for it. But losing, none of you, I don't think, there's a single one of you who could compare to how much I've lost. So I lost my way, and then I lost the contest. But in 2003, I was ready to win. Figured, all right, I was an alternate to the World Championship. Now is my time. Lost at division. Ooh, bitter pill to swallow. Okay, fine. Humility. I'll learn something. 2004. It's my year. I'm due. Lost at division. At least I'm consistent. So I did what any sane Toastmaster would do. I moved to a new district. All right, it didn't quite coincide for those reasons, but it worked out well because finally I won district in 2005. Wow, I knew it was time for redemption. Except redemption would have started 3 seconds earlier than when I stopped my speech. Didn't place at region. Heard later. Well, let's just say I heard later. But it doesn't matter because part of winning in a speech contest is staying in time. So no matter what the votes might have said, I lost that contest. Finally, 2006. Remember that year, Tom?
Vaguely.
Vaguely? 2006. One more time. Sorry, district, I went overtime last year. I promised not to go overtime this year. And I made it. All the way to the World Championship. Right next to Tom Lindemann. Up there with 10 of the best speakers and Toastmasters in the world. And I gave the speech of my life. My favorite speech of all time. When I talk about what we knew then. Instead of, wow, if only we knew then what we know now. But what if we thought like a child and knew now what we knew then? The audience loved it. They came out in spontaneous applause in the middle of my speech. And I took third. Which in every other district plays pretty well, except of course with Tom, who didn't place. Nobody feels sorry for me.
I was just simply tied for fourth.
You tied for fourth. So I can't feel too bad for only taking third, but still, let's face it. I won, but in the end, I lost. I wasn't done. 2007, I went right back to region and lost. Took second. Fine, 2008, I moved again. I went back to my old district where I was a returning hero for having at least gone to the World Championship. And I went back to the World Championship again. All right, I'm back. Now it's my time. You ever think that? Over and over again. Finally, this is the time. Don't we think that about every Monday? This is the week. I'm going to do it. This is the diet I'm going to start. This is when my success is going to come. I worked all summer, and I gave again the speech of my life. And as those of you yesterday heard, I sat there rooting not to be called third. And they didn't call me third. And I was rooting not to be called second. And they didn't call me second. Yes! And then Jana Barnhill stands up in front of everyone and says, if it's time for a woman to be the international president, then it's time for a woman. And I'm thinking, I'm not a woman. And of course, LaShunda Rundles took the prize. Well deserving that prize. I've seen the video since, and I totally agree that she should have won that. And I'm lying. No. She's a great champion, and I have a lot of respect for LaShunda. But in the end, I lost. I told you Friday that my goal the next year wasn't necessarily to win, but to have fun. And I did have fun. I still lost. I took second at region again to Eric Rainey, who went on to take third at the World Championship. But I lost. I took a year off. I was division governor. And then I competed again last year. And I went to the semifinals and lost. You have competed a long time, and you're thinking, yeah, get on with it. I know. I competed a long time. I have 90 trophies between international humorous evaluation, table topics, and tall tales over the last 10 years. But none of them is the big one. But I win anyway. And there's a reason I win anyway. You know what it means to win anyway? I touched on that a bit yesterday. It's finding that victory in whatever it is you're doing. Finding that real reason you're trying to accomplish something in life. But it wasn't like I had this epiphany. I sat there and looked at myself in the mirror and thought, wow, I'm winning anyway. No, I had to be taught that. You might wonder, why would a guy compete for 10 years? Why would somebody grow up and be so competitive? Well, I blame that man's brother. Back in the back of the room is my Uncle Bob. Haven't seen him in 12 years. Thank you for coming, him and his wife Rose. His brother, my father, loved to play chess with me. He taught me when I was 7 years old. And he never let me win. He beat me 265 times. Not that I was counting. Between my ages of 7 and 9 years old. Finally, I was fed up. And I got desperate. I went to the library.
Oh.
You know you're desperate when you're 9 years old. Going to the library. And I checked out a book called Bobby Fischer Teaches Chess. A book about this thick.
Oh my goodness.
Over 300 pages of exercises on what to do in individual chess situations. And I read that book over and over and over again. Until finally, sorry, Dad, checkmate! Yes! Yes, I'm competitive. I never lost to him in chess again. That's why I'm so competitive, perhaps. But it continued. My first trophy was a chess championship in junior high. I went to a spelling bee. And I lost. I took third, but at least it was third in the whole school. I was competitive. I had to win. Imagine my poor wife being married to someone like me. We were playing Scrabble our first year of marriage. I love Scrabble. She doesn't love Scrabble, but she loves me, so she played a game with me. She played several games for one night. And she's like, Rich, well, you don't have to be so competitive. It's just a game. I said, oh, honey, I'm not competitive. I'm not trying to beat you. My goal is to triple your score. Oh, have you ever tried to pull the letter Q out of your left nostril? We don't play much Scrabble. But let's go back to chess. Because I've got 6 kids. And when my daughter Riley was 7 years old, I decided I am paying it forward. I'm going to teach Riley how to play chess. And she enjoyed it. She caught on really, really fast. I got to tell you, I never let her win. In fact, I've won 127 straight games. Not that I'm keeping track. But actually, about halfway through that streak, I started to wonder how she felt about losing all the time. Because she never got mad. When I was a kid, I always got mad. Oh, man, not again. She never got mad. I started to worry. What if she didn't care? I finally asked her, I said, Riley, does it bother you that I beat you every time we play? No, not really. What? You're a Hopkins! Well, then why do you play with me? Well, I just wanted to learn how the pieces moved, Dad. It looked like a lot of fun. And I wanted to play with you. Ha! Wow. Riley really changed the rules that day. Gave me a real difference between what winning and losing is. She taught me that it wasn't that win or that loss. It was who I got to play with, who she got to play with. She found her victory in every loss of a chess game. Can we do that? Can we find a way to create those victories, find them with each other, knowing that, yeah, we're going to have a speech contest tonight, a couple of them. No matter what we do, no matter what trophy we end up with, we're here among friends. We're playing and speaking among our biggest fans. Find your victory there. It's tough to live in this world, isn't it? And it's so focused on winning and losing. And it starts when we're young, doesn't it? Subconsciously, we hear our parents bragging about how quickly we learn to roll over. pull up the stand and start to walk. You can tell I'm still working on the walking part. But that's what our world becomes about. How are our teachers grading us? How are our bosses evaluating us? How much money is in our bank account? How much are we winning? Now, I wasn't seen as much of a winner growing up because of the way I walked. I went to school and I was tormented. Not just because I walked like this, but because your brother named me after himself. So I was Dickie Jr. Try being Dickie Jr. in elementary school and junior high in the 80s and our late 70s. That is why my name is now Rich. I won anyway. With my leg, I never really wanted to be identified by how I walked. They never really figured out what was wrong with me. You know, they thought it was polio, but it wasn't. They thought it was club foot, but it's not. I think they just decided that it's whatever I have, because they don't know. They never gave it a name. In fact, after one surgery, after one of the 10 surgeries I had before I was 10 years old to enable me to walk, the doctor looked at my mom and said, "Wow, that went a lot better than we thought it would." You don't want to hear that. But it kept me walking. And in fact, it kept me doing more than walking because I wanted to be a basketball star. Leg be darned, heck, I had a great fake to my left. I tried out for the high school basketball team, but my doctor at the University of Iowa refused to sign the permission slip. Said, "No way, we put too much time and effort into keeping you upright to let you destroy all the work that we've done." He said, "Besides, how long can you even play basketball? 30 minutes? He said, "Doc, I'm playing 4 hours a day." He couldn't even believe it. But he still wouldn't sign the slip. So I had to resort to playing basketball at home, on the home basketball hoop in the neighborhood courts. And he told me, he said, "Rich, you're going to have to slow down. If you want to keep walking, you need to grow up and get a desk job." Well, I grew up and became an outside salesman. Isn't so much a desk job. It's because I figured if I was going to end up in a wheelchair one day, I wanted to at least remember the times that I made a game-winning shot. I wanted to remember when I could walk, as opposed to living my life small just to see how long I could keep walking. And for a long time, I won that battle. But in 2006, in January, I woke up and realized the doctors had won. Because I could not step on my left ankle. What would you do if you got up in the morning and you could not stand up? I'd do what I did. I took a day off. That day turned into a week. And that week turned into a month. It's a good thing I was a commission-only salesperson. Finally, my wife convinced me to go to the doctor. I hadn't really seen a doctor about my leg in probably about 15 years at that point. And he took some x-rays and said, "Rich, you've got 3 choices. We can create a brace for you that'll go up to your hip, and you won't really have much movement in the leg, but you'll be able to keep walking. We don't know how long." Said we can do surgery. We try to clean out the ankle, and it'll probably last about 2 years, and then we'll be right back. And then he said something I never imagined I would hear in my life. He said, "You can let it go. You can lose the leg." Wow, winning and losing takes on a whole new meaning. When you start about thinking about losing something you've worked so hard to keep and something that is so personal. It took me a while, but I finally decided that that was a decision I had to make. If I wanted to keep winning, if I wanted to keep playing baseball with my kids, if I wanted to be able to keep being that father and that husband that I'd always been, that I wasn't really losing anything at all. In fact, I was upgrading. And it didn't take me long after the surgery, after getting my new super deluxe robot leg, as I tell my kids, to realize that there is nothing like that new foot smell. Now I get to walk. And I will get to walk most likely the rest of my life. That's my personal victory. Being willing to lose something. Being willing to let something go. Sometimes those are the toughest choices we have to make. To realize that those victories that we want to have are hidden in failure, in giving up, in quitting something, in leaving a situation, being willing to let go of something that you've tried so hard to work for, and changing what those goals are going to be. So great. Those are some personal stories for me, right? Big deal. I talk about winning anyway. Big deal, right? Winning. That's what Jim said. Winning. What does winning mean? Whenever you win, it means you have to have a loser, right? Well, the key to win anyway isn't really win. The key word is anyway. Because the world is constantly in your way. The world is constantly throwing up obstacles, telling you how to feel about yourselves, telling you whether you're a winner or a loser, telling you whether you're successful or not, telling you what you really need to be if you want to be that person you've always seen yourself as being. But are you who the world has let you become, or are you who you really want to be? Are you doing what you want to do anyway? Are you winning anyway? Are you dreaming anyway? Are you laughing anyway? You're in Toastmasters. Public speaking, the world's #1 fear. You're speaking anyway. Anyway is the key word. And there are so many things in our life that we can latch onto, that we can decide to do despite what the world tells us, despite what our family tells us, despite what our supposedly close friends tell us, and choose to do it anyway. As we see those victories in the world every day. When I was very young, after I'd beat my dad at chess, so a little bit older, I had a best friend in Oregon. His name was Jeff Ford. We used to play superheroes. Our dream was to grow up and become superheroes, because when you're 9, you can have that dream. He wanted to be Superman. I wanted to be the Flash. I couldn't run, so I was the Batman. Our third friend, Norm, turned into the Flash because he beat me in a race at school. But that's fine. I was Batman, and I made $500 million in a movie like a couple of years ago. So there's victory there. But we used to play Spider-Man in his backyard, and he would make movies. Those little 8mm cameras. Anybody hear of those 8mm video cameras? You take the movies and you take them back in your room and you start cutting the film together so you can do special effects and draw little bam pows like in the old Batman show. He did that. At 11 years old, he was doing that. He dreamed of being a filmmaker. And he kept moving forward with that dream. He went to USC, got a film degree, worked his way up through the industry. He became a film editor. He worked on movies like As Good as It Gets. Over the last few years, his career has taken off somewhat. Last year, he was the head film editor, top guy, top banana, on Captain America. And if you go across the street to the theater and you look at the Avengers poster, you'll see Jeffrey Ford, the lead editor of right now the biggest movie in the world. And so not only did he fulfill his dream of becoming a filmmaker, but he fulfilled, in a sense, that superhero dream. Because he's making the superhero movies now that he only dreamed of making when he was 11 years old, as we played in his backyard. There are dreams that can come true if you dream them anyway. If you take steps forward towards them anyway. All right, test time. How closely have you been listening? What year did I get lost going to the area contest? Hands up. You were the first, right there in the purple.
2002.
Now.
No, up. 2001.
2001, but you had the help of like everybody.
Right away.
All right.
Didn't I have my hand up right away? I think so. I have my hand up right away.
What you're going to win, or what you have won, is go ahead and laugh. You can give that to a friend, because I know you've already purchased one, I'm sure, in the bookstore, where it's available for $20, where I'm giving back $5 for every book to the district. But that book is part of Anyway. Because several years ago, I thought, gee, if I want to go out and be a speaker, I need to have a book. I don't think I have enough to say to have a book. I barely have enough to say to give a keynote. Okay, that was then. Now I've got tons to say. But I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to make this happen? And I had created a book called Win, Place, and Show, which was the speeches all compiled from the World Championships with Ed Hearn, Douglas Wilson, and myself when we took 1, 2, 3. But let's face it, that's a Toastmasters book. Don't know how much real-world interest that's going to generate. And I thought, wow, okay, people tell me I'm funny. Funny looking, funny smelling, funny walking. But sometimes I'm funny when I speak, although apparently not in the last 25 seconds. Well, I thought, all right, I'm going to create a book for humor. But I don't want to do all the work. So I invited 11 other speakers to send me their funniest speeches. Some of them are Toastmaster speeches, some of them are speeches that they use in the real world. And that's what's in that book, are those speeches plus my analysis of all the humor that they use, why they used it, why it worked, what they might have been able to do better. So a written evaluation, in a sense, for each one of those speeches. And each one of them also added their own background material in terms of what went into writing that speech, why they gave it, and what their results have been. And so that's how Go Ahead and Laugh was made, because I decided I had to create anyway, which is also why I have 6 kids. So that's the story behind Go Ahead and Laugh. Well, that's great. Okay, so I've talked about dreams. I've talked about losing a leg. Well, I didn't lose it in Iraq or Afghanistan, so what big a deal is that really? What about the real world? How can we live in any way life in the real world? Because real things happen to us, don't they? Real pressures, real hurts, real pains. And we stop and think, you know, great, I just heard this speech about win anyway. How am I supposed to win anyway when my life is falling apart? When my job isn't what I want it to be? When my marriage isn't what I wish it could be? How do you make this work in the real world? I want to tell you a story about a girl named Bailey Archer. She's 16 years old. Her mother's name is Christy. The two of them and a couple of Bailey's sister and brother have a condition called neurofibromatosis. Does anybody here know what neurofibromatosis is? I don't see any hands.
Yeah.
A couple people have heard of it. It's so sad because 1 in 3,000 people are affected by it. It's more common than many, many other genetic disorders that get marathons and telethons and fundraising. And it's because people with neurofibromatosis suffer from tumors
that take place both inside the body and outside the body. And it disfigures them, so many of them, that they're unwilling to come out and speak. They're unwilling to come out in public, which is why we don't know so much about NF, as they call it. Now, Christy doesn't have NF to that degree. NF can affect you in ways where somebody could walk through that door and you would never know that their body is rife with tumors. The next person could come in and they would look completely disfigured. They would have tumors all over their face. They could have tumors anywhere on their body. There's somebody I know with tumors all around their leg that makes it look 3 times the size of a normal leg. And then there's everybody in between. Christy, of course, has had neurofibromatosis her whole life, but she didn't discover it. It wasn't identified until she was about 34 years old. When she took her daughter Bailey in to find out whether or not she had inherited that trait, she was sure that she hadn't, because she hadn't really seen anything, any signs at all. As it turns out, Bailey did have NF. She had a tumor right above her ear, an acoustic neuroma. And so they started getting regular MRIs for her to make sure that that tumor wasn't going to get any bigger. After the first year of MRIs, they found another tumor right in the center of her brain, inoperable, about the size of an M&M. How do you win anyway through that? Well, guess what? That tumor is not from NF. But if she didn't have NF, they wouldn't have found that tumor. They wouldn't have realized that tumor existed until it was too late. So Bailey's been undergoing chemo for the last year. And her tumor doubled within the first 6 months. And then it stayed stable for the next 6 months. Yesterday, she went back in for another MRI. The tumor has grown again. How do you win anyway through that? Bailey shrugged her shoulders. Said, well, that's what God wants from me right now. Can we go to lunch anyway? And they did. In case you can't tell by now, Bailey is my daughter. Christy's my wife. They say don't do therapy on stage. Craig Valentine's very, very hard on me for that. But I did find out just yesterday the results of those MRIs. She went in yesterday morning while I was here, and we got those results yesterday afternoon. But it's not my strength to win anyway that sees me through. It's not even my wife's strength, who has created a blog called Thriving with Neurofibromatosis. She's written a book called Thriving with Neurofibromatosis. She goes out and she speaks to create awareness. Thanks to Toastmasters. Thanks to me forcing her to join Toastmasters. But both of them believe that the world needs to know what neurofibromatosis is. And they believe that no matter what you think your future is going to be, it's really more important about what you're thinking today. Because we don't know what's going to happen with that tumor. But as Bailey likes to say, hey, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. You know, that is kind of the way life is, isn't it? What are you going to do today anyway? What is important in your life that you want to accomplish today? No matter what those obstacles are, no matter what the world says about you, and the world can tell Bailey she should be crying and hiding in her room and feeling miserable, but that's not what she does. She chooses to handle it in her own way. The world tells Christy that she should be hiding and shouldn't be talking about neurofibromatosis. Just go away. We don't want to deal with this because we don't know how to treat it. We don't know how to get rid of it. So just go away. And she refuses to go away. Has the world ever told you to go away? Has the world ever told you to be quiet? Leave us alone. Go back to your office and just do what I told you to do. Don't let the world create your world. Because your world is not their world. Your world is your world. Your world is not my world. It's not Bailey's world. It's not Christy's world. Your world is your world. And you can do anything that you want to do. It sounds like motivational fluff until you remember that even a 16-year-old knows it's true. Fellow Toastmasters, I want you to dream anyway. I want you to love anyway. I want you to laugh anyway. I want you to dance anyway. I want you to win anyway. Because that's the life you deserve.
Thank you so much for being here today. And as a small token of our appreciation for your being here, please accept this from the college.
Thank you, I will. Thank you, everybody.
Wow. That was good. That was good stuff. So glad I came this weekend, right? Okay, in case you were wondering who won the fake movie poster challenge, I have the results. And the winners will receive a voucher good for $40 in a library, I guess, $40 an item at the bookstore, the library. If I could have a representative from the Opportunity Not. And just so you know how close the vote was, they won by one vote. 50 to 49. Your vote counts, believe me. Okay, right now what we will do is we will have the judges reporting to the Green Acres room. Judges report to the Green Acres room right next door, and then the contestants will meet here. You'll get your briefings. The contest will begin promptly at 3 o'clock. So please be back in your seats at 3 o'clock for the contest. Thank you. And we do have tickets for sale. Tickets. This is the last opportunity. Last call for tickets. Raffle tickets.
Because they do this.
800? I have. You got, Cindy, you got to put those in the back. I guess
I already did those.
Oh, those are ours.
Yeah, so this is the other half. So when they call the numbers. Okay, so our name was. Is that okay with
Welcome everyone to the 2012 Spring District 19 contest. I am not the contest chair, but I will be introducing the Sergeant of Arms who will take this thing on the road and get this thing going. So, if you'll help me welcome Jamie, the Sergeant of Arms.
well-informed, intelligent people because of that voice right there. Yay, we got to have a voice of the conference. That what gives us excitement. It makes us move from room to room. It tells us when it's time to eat and when the business meeting is going to start. For that, I would like to thank the Academy. That joke never gets old. There's a third of the people in the room that are going. We'll explain the hospitality room tonight. The voice will tell you all about that. We've got a couple of contests going on here at back to back. They're going to be great. I've just met with all of the contestants. They're excited. They're thrilled. It's going to be a wonderful contest. I can't wait to hear what kind of question has been asked upon these poor, poor souls. I always have the privilege of hearing the question, and then 40 minutes later, I come up and introduce the second half of the contest. And about 40 minutes later, because I'm quick thinking, I've almost formed a thought of what the possible answer might be. So here is one of those contests that I admire so much, and we are going to have a wonderful time, but that time cannot be had until we get the incredible, and here she is, our newly elected, what's the correct term here for me? District Governor-elect, Kelly Nielsen.
Thank you, Jamie. Most welcome guests, honored dignitaries, fellow Toastmasters. Welcome to the spring contest. No, we haven't done it so far, but I know there's a lot of people in our audience who've worked really hard in giving back to our members. I'd like to go through positions they may have held and ask you to stand up while the audience gives you an applause for all your hard work. So we'll begin with anyone who is a current or past international director. Please rise. Anyone who is a current or past District 19 governor, please rise. Do we have the privilege of any other district governors, current or past, who decided to join us? Please rise. Yay! Current or past Lieutenant Governor of Education and Training, please rise. Do we have any Lieutenant Governor of Marketing, current or past? A very tough role, District 19 Public Relations Officers. Please rise, current or past. I told you we had a lot of hardworking people in here. Current or past, District 19 transmitter editors. Current or past, District 19 secretary. There's some members out there right now getting a lot of good exercise. Any current or past District 19 treasurers? Any current or past division governors? Ooh, look at this one. Current or past area governors? Do we have any assistant area governors, current or past? Do we have any current or past club presidents? Everyone, you've done a great job for the members here. Thank you for all your hard work, time, and energy. But you're not here for the applause, you're here for a contest. The first contest is table topics. Earlier, the contestants drew lots to determine their speaking order. The order of the contestants will be Benjamin Carter Allen, Tamara Binder, Peggy O'Neill, Joanne Willers, and J.J. Trotta. I'll say them one more time. The first one is Benjamin Carter Allen, Tamara Binder, Peggy O'Neill, Joanne Willers, and J.J. Trotta. For review of the contest rules for the table topics, please welcome our Chief Judge, Claude Hartman.
Thank you, Madam Contest Chair. Can you hear me out there?
Not very well.
I'll say it one more time. Madam Contest Chair, fellow welcome guests, honored dignitaries, and fellow Toastmasters. I think you've had them stand up as much as we need to. As Chief Judge of this contest, I confirm that I have equal judging representation from each area division involved in the contest. The judges, timers, and ballot counters have been briefed and are fully aware of their responsibilities. In addition, the contestants and the contest sergeant of arms have met their briefings in regards to the rules and procedures of this contest. At this time, I'd like to ask the chief timer to read the timing statement and check the lights.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Judge. Timing will begin with the contestant's first definite verbal or nonverbal communication with the audience. This will usually be the first word uttered by the contestant, but would include any other communication such as sound effects, a staged act by another person, etc. Speech length is 2 minutes. A contestant will be disqualified for speaking less than 1 minute or more than 2 minutes 30 seconds. The green light will be turned on at 1 minute. The yellow light will be turned on at 1 minute 30 seconds, and the red light will be turned on at 2 minutes and remain on until the speech ends. Any contestant is disqualified whose presentation time is less than the minimum time or more than the maximum time just noted. No signal shall be given to indicate that a presentation has gone into overtime. In the event of a technical failure of the lights, a contestant is allowed 30 seconds extra overtime before being disqualified. We also have these backup green, yellow, and red cards in case the timing lights fail. Mr. Chief Judge.
Thank you. And as Chief Judge, I'd like to remind everyone in the room, if it's necessary to leave, you can only do that during the 1 minute time that is allotted for the judges to do their judging in silence. The Sergeant of Arms will be allowed to enter during the sequence. Yeah, he gets to come back in. Additionally, there will be silence during that 1 minute. Please do not disturb the judges while they're marking their ballots. If you have any electronic devices, which most of us do, don't we? If you would turn them off or put them on vibrate or something so that it doesn't interfere with the speakers. There will be no pictures taken during the contest. Protests regarding originality or eligibility are limited to the judges and the contestants and shall be made to me as the contest chair or to me as chief judge prior to the announcement of the winners. For the table topics contest, the contest chair will review the rules. Are there any questions? Madam Contest Chair, let the contest begin.